Welcome to The Planet Forward with Preetha, conversations for a greener future, the place where we ignite discussions and uncover innovations driving us towards sustainability. Every episode, join your host Preetha as we explore the stories, ideas, and pioneers making a real difference in our world. Get ready to be inspired, learn, and be a part of the change that propels us forward to a greener tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Today, we are honored to have with us an extraordinary guest, Zubaida Bai. Zubaida is an accomplished and incisive organizational strategist and entrepreneurial leader with a remarkable breadth of expertise. She has a proven track record in defining and executing organizational vision and strategy, transforming objectives into actionable plans, and delivering strong, sustainable solutions that address the needs of the global community. Her background showcases significant success in identifying and capturing revenue generating opportunities, overseeing product development, and leading commercialization initiatives that positively impact bottom line profitability. Zubaida excels in building productive relationships with internal and external business partners, forming strategic alliances, and engaging with leaders from both the public and private sectors. With a dynamic combination of leadership, financial acumen, and business savvy, Zubaida consistently produces extraordinary results. She currently serves as a president and CEO of the Grameen Foundation, where she continues to champion social entrepreneurship. Zubaida is also a fervent advocate of investment in social determinants of health, a recognized UNGC SDG 3 pioneer, and an inspired TED speaker and fellow. Join us as we delve into her journey, insights, and the impactful work she is doing to create a better, healthier world for all. Zubaida, thank you so much for joining us today at Planet Forward. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Of course, Preetha, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, as I was reading your bio and, I've been looking at all your, insights into your LinkedIn profile, I was really intrigued. And the first question I have you is like, understanding your leadership and vision. You're like, you have your tentacles all over the place. You do it so well. So I want you to tell me, like, as the president and CEO of the Grameen Foundation, could you share with us the core mission of the foundation and how your personal vision aligns with it?
Got it. Thank you, Preetha. So Grameen Foundation is the brainchild of a Nobel Peace Prize winner called Dr. Yunus from Bangladesh. And his vision for the world, what won him the Nobel Peace Prize, was that he wants to put poverty in museums, right? So when he actually created the foundation about 25 years ago, the vision of the foundation is to create a world that is free from poverty. And we actually do that by our mission, which is to enable the poor, especially women, to create a world without poverty and hunger. And we use entrepreneurship as a tool. We use technology as a tool to ensure that that happens. And where it aligns with my personal interest, I think it's definitely a story of me, who I am and where I came from.
I'd love to know that.
Of course. I do believe that I'm a representation of my story, of the millions of women out there who are fighting for a place in the world, who are fighting for a voice. And honestly, coming from I would say a lower middle income family from India, I think the journey that I've had in walking me and my family out of poverty is the journey that I want millions of women to have. So it really intersects to the core of who I am and what I want to do in the world. And it's my story that I represent to enable others to see what change is possible.
That's so beautiful. So I'd like to know more about your personal story and how you actually, there are two ways to look at one's own childhood and life. Either you can learn something out of it and ensure that nobody else goes through the same hardships that you have gone through, and you find a medium in which you can help others. And listening to what you just said, that is precisely what you did. You understand the pain, what a woman specifically goes through, and you have been successful in bringing your family out of that situation, and then you wanted to ensure that that gift is being given to others to make sure that they don't encounter the same issues what you had gone through in life. So could you please delve into that?
Sure. The way I like to describe this journey is when I was probably 12 years old, and I think many, many women in this world have probably been where I was, where I was at home with my grandmother, mother, and my aunt. And I remember somebody knocking at the door and asking, is anybody home? And my grandmother screaming, well, nobody's home, come back later. And I'm wondering, why is she saying that? Right. And I kept pulling at her and saying, why are you saying we're all here? And I think that was the moment that I felt like we were all invisible, right? And that we didn't have a place, we didn't have a voice. Us being at home didn't matter. And as a child, for me, that experience has carried on. And it is surprising to me to date see that women are invisible, right? Even though there are professional women, there are women in leadership, there is so much of the strength, the value that they bring is still invisible, right? So I think that's kind of my journey where I really wanted to be visible. I wanted to have a voice in various ways. So I fought to get myself an education. I was the first graduate in my family. I fought to pursue higher education. I went out of the norm to actually support women. So I got myself an engineering degree, but I decided that desk job wasn't for me. And the way to give back was I started designing products in agriculture and healthcare at the last mile. And the big question I asked again was, well, how do women use these products? Why aren't these products designed for women? And so that the fact that I knew that women were invisible kept manifesting in front of me in various ways, right? So kind of designing products for women is how I used my engineering degree and bringing a gender lens. I became an investor thereafter to invest in high impact technologies to take products to market. From there on, I became an entrepreneur. I wanted to design products, so I started a company to design products for infection reduction through a woman's reproductive health life cycle. So again, a very invisible issue that I was trying to surface. But all throughout, I think the big question that I was asking myself was, am I building a product, a company, or am I fixing systems for this product and company to be successful? Right. And I think that's where this role at Grameen is allowing me to position myself with an entire team globally. And here we are representing ourselves to transform systems for women. Right. We are not saying that we're going to fix the woman. We are not going to say that we are going to fix the problem. We are saying it's not the woman you need to fix. It's everything around her that you need to fix for her to be successful. And in that light, we also named our strategy called Invest in Her Power, which means that necessarily going to empower women. They have enough power. All we are trying to do is investing in the power of women by fixing everything around them so they can show up with their full potential. So I think my journey has primarily been fighting the invisibility of women throughout, and it has manifested in different ways. And so does it in the current role that I'm in.
Oh, wow, what a beautiful story. And the way you have taken that and taken into different sectors, like taking your education background, making sure that the product, whatever you developed and designed, is again focused on women. But then you also realize there's a problem statement still to be resolved there, wherein you're only focusing on, creating a product. Are you focusing on the bigger problem, like you said, the invisibility, which was haunting you for a long time? And then finding Grameen Foundation has given you that platform in which you can be the entrepreneur, provide entrepreneurship, or to others, help them grow in their career as well, plus be a voice for them as well in your, so that they also learn to stand on their own feet. And I love the way you beautifully said, because women have power. We all know we are inherently built with that strong willpower that, if we set a mind to something, then, sky is not the limit. We go beyond that. However, the environment in which we are living today is something which forces us to, subdue ourselves, because, there is a lot of concerns there. We know that, and we I don't want to get into the details of it. We're all aware of it. But standing as a voice for the women who is yet to find a voice is insanely powerful, Zubaida. That is something which is very, very good. I'm really excited to learn more about it now, especially on your entrepreneurial journey. So now I want to just pivot to your strategy, right? Like, you have an impressive track record of defining and executing organizational vision and strategy. Can you walk us through how you translate high level objectives into actionable plans?
I do believe that it's important for you to understand every aspect of your work to be able to create a strategy, right? And to make this very tangible, I think I can walk you through my 18 months at Grameen and how we've kind of built a strategy that will launch in the next couple of months. So Grameen, historically, we were created to support the microfinance movement, right? So Dr. Yunus created the Grameen Bank, and we started providing loans to women. And that movement had a wave, and the foundation was created to support that wave about 25 years ago. We then went on to build technologies to enable efficient movement of capital to women. But at the 25-year mark, we looked back and said, well, we've achieved what we wanted to, right? Microfinance is a great movement. It has impacted millions of women around the world. Do we still need to exist, right? I think that's the big question I asked when I came into Grameen's, like, do we have a role in the world? Do we need to exist? And if we shouldn't, right? Like, should we exist because we are a 25-year-old organization? Or should we exist because we have something meaningful to offer? So we got together as a team and we said, well, what is it that we need to do? And the big revelation for us was, yes, microfinance movement provided access to capital to women, but that capital to date is very expensive, right? Women pay higher interest rates than men. There are many instances where people take loans in the name of women and women are abused. There are many instances when women are amazing at repaying loans, but they are not necessarily given credit for that. And so how do you then look at a system where we've created a system of abuse for women by just providing them access to capital? So at Grameen, then we went back to the drawing board and said, what is it that we're really good at doing? And what we're really good at doing, can we use that to fix the problem we've created of women being abused, right? And so we said, well, we looked at the various verticals, and now our new strategy is a 5-pronged approach.
Okay.
So the first vertical that we do is what we call intra-household dialogues, right? So instead of just pulling a woman out, giving her training, getting her access to capital, we work with local organizations and community agents, and we actually go into homes and have conversations to dismantle what we call gender and power at home, right? So is this woman being valued at home? Is she eating meals with the family at the table? Does she have a say in what happens to the money that comes in her house? Does she have a say in what happens to her children's education? And so if she does step out of the house, does she have support at home? Do people value her work at home, right?
Like, does she have decision authority at home?
Exactly. So the agency that a woman has. So when we do this, we actually enable a system where if a woman steps out of the house, she's not doing 15 hours of work at home and 15 hours of work outside. We are creating a support system where her voice, her value, and her agency has some meaning to everybody in the household, right? We then create male champions that are ensuring that the communities are ready for the woman to be showing up, right? What's the point if a woman becomes an entrepreneur and goes to a vendor and she's not valued, respected, and she's being taken for granted and not
so
taken?
The mindset of the men needs to be changed also to
So we
accept that women can be entrepreneurs.
Exactly. So we create male champions through that process, and the communities are energized. The third vertical is where we train the woman in entrepreneurship and financial inclusion, technology, business, whatever she needs to know. The fourth vertical is where we go into financial institutions and we work with them to say, now this woman is de-risked both personally and professionally, right? We have her personal life taken care of. We have a professional life taken care of. Now you can provide her a loan at a low risk profile, right?
Not a high risk profile.
Not
So
a
the
high
interest rates are not high.
Not high. So it definitely goes down. And the final step of this is, if all this doesn't work and still the institution does not trust the woman, we will go ahead and guarantee those loans and say, well, give her a loan, but if she defaults, it's on us, it's not on you, right?
Wow.
But
So you're basically making sure that you're taking the responsibility of the loan.
Exactly. So that's the entire 5-pronged systems transformation approach we have now. And through this process, the umbrella initiative is how do you ensure that along the way, there is no abuse of women? And if from a financial perspective, how is she not taken for granted? So we are building the protocols, the systems, the guardrails for everybody in the financial system to be respectful of a woman, right? So this is what we mean by investing in her power and transforming systems, where we're not trying to fix the woman, but we're trying to fix everything around her so she's successful. Now, we launched the strategic direction because we didn't want to launch the full strategy about 6 months ago now. And we piloted this, right? And we wanted to see if it works. And we did this in Ghana, and really we saw the interest rate go down from about 43% to 12%,
Wow,
right?
43%.
12%. And women pay interest rates anywhere between 30 and 70% globally, right? So when you look at that, now really it means that, again, just giving women a loan does not solve the problem. You have to fix the entire system for her. Now, the next question people might ask is, well, this is too much work. Is it practically possible? Our role is not to say we're going to fix it for the billion women around the world. Our role is to say it's possible to fix it. Here's how you fix it. Here's the methodology. Now you replicate it and you will see the same results, right? So we are always at a point where we create models that can be replicated. We don't have to ensure that it will be done. That it will be done by scaling. We want to ensure that it will be replicated. And our role is to establish these models. And that's what we're doing with our new strategy.
Oh, that's beautiful. The five-pronged approach. Like, again, it's all tying to what you say, right? Invest in her power rather than, changing the complete shift in paradigm, right? Because vast majority of any initiatives that's done both by the private sector and the public sector, they always think women as a weaker, gender. However, it's not the case. It's actually women is powerful, but you just fix the other ecosystem around her, everything else falls in its place. And I love the way you making sure that you're going and taking time to interview the family, her own mindset also, right? There are women who's so subdued for over years. Even when you try to pull her out of her conditions, she's not able to, because that's what she's conditioned to believe, that she needs to behave in a certain way. So it takes a lot of work on your part to uh, change that narrative for her, saying that no, you are capable of doing something different. So
For
that's
sure.
a lot of investment that you're doing on for one woman. And I love the way you concluded, right? We can't go and make a difference in billions of women's life. We all know that there's going to be lots and lots of effort. Having said that, can we initiate a start? Yes. Can we make a difference in one woman's life? Yes. And that's a huge difference because it ripples. It always says, right, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So
For
we
sure.
don't need to always have that vision that like how the corporate world always have the strategy of ROI, or we implement something now, end of the year, we need to have, that's not, I don't think in social entrepreneurship or in social sustainability, we cannot look at that because it differs from human to human. And specifically when external factors and conditions of families and belief system over the years, what's been ingrained in their brain also is another attribute to it.
For
Oh my
sure.
God, it's amazing how you've done that, and I see that you've taken your analytical skills from your engineering background into this as well, and I can see the trend. So, like I'm sure you have a lot of challenges in doing that as well, right? Because that is something which is inherent when you go after such an initiative. So what challenges have you faced while leading the foundation, and how have you adapted strategies to continue delivering sustainable solutions?
I think we touched on this in the previous aspect, right? And you also touched on the engineering aspects of it. So engineers are problem solvers, right? So if you don't
Yes,
have challenges, you're not going to be in the role long enough because you don't
I'm
have
an
experience.
engineer too, and I know exactly what you're saying.
I think the challenges are multi-pronged, right? You touched on it, that it's not just, the women are conditioned to believe certain things. And that's why when we say we have intra-household dialogues, we're including the woman in the conversation, because a part of that is for the woman to see her own potential in herself and knowing that everybody is with her to do that, right? That's one of the biggest challenges we face. And when I say intra-household dialogues, I don't mean it in a very easy way, right? There are families where 5 conversations are enough, but there are families where 12 conversations are not enough. And so kind of consistently seeing that. And this is one woman I met, in fact, an entrepreneur in India with our Delhi Entrepreneur Hub, where we are supporting her. She actually was doing, selling clothes from her home,
Okay.
outside of Delhi. And through our program, we actually engaged her husband, we engaged her mother-in-law, she has children. We enabled her to register her business and now file taxes, right? And we have centers in Delhi where we have support where they can sit down and have those conversations. In a matter of 2 years, and when I met her, she's running 2 stores now. She has
Wow.
5 employees. Her husband comes after work and supports her in the store so she can go home and take care of her children and stuff. And her income has increased over 30, 40x at the bare minimum. Right. And now when I met her, she was talking about her friends making shoes at home, and she's starting to sell matching with the shoe, matching with the dresses. She's talking about, can I have a website where I can, have a tailor and do private labeled clothes, right? And so for her to be able to go from I'm selling clothes at home to I now own 2 stores, my husband supports me, I want to send my kids to college, which I would have never thought about before, and to think about kind of an online sales and private labeling, that's a huge transition.
Huge.
But could we have done that by just giving her an entrepreneurship training? Would we have ever found her to come to our training?
No.
Absolutely, right? So when you're talking about systems transformation, that's the kind of change that we want to see, right? Where we believe that there is potential in women, and how do you ensure that we're able to walk them out of that? We don't mean to disrupt their family lives. We don't mean to, in a way, bring them into limelight so that they don't have the respect that they have at home before. We need to work with the culture and the society to ensure that that transition is smooth and it's for the benefit of the entire family and the fabric of the family. And when they walk out of poverty, they are there forever. They're not going to slide back no matter what. So I think that's the kind of journey where, yes, there are challenges. Like, is it easy to talk to the mother-in-law? Absolutely not. Is it easy to get funding to do this work? Absolutely not. 90% of the funders go, how are you even able to do this? Right? It's practically impossible. But for us to walk through examples like this, that this is possible, it can happen, and this is how, I think there's a lot of merit there. So yes, challenges are a core part of it, and we can name a million through the process. But when we do transition a woman through that journey, the results are remarkable and speak for themselves.
Oh my God. Because that was the reason I asked this question. I was going to ask you, do you have a example that you can quote? And you just, even before I could tell, you quoted this example, which is very, very powerful, right? These are the things that we even when we have a day when we feel that, oh, this is not going anywhere, stories like this motivate us, saying that,
Exactly.
okay, it has made a difference in this person. You know the story, her journey. Like 2 years ago, she was sitting and doing stuff at home. She didn't have the courage to come out and even become an entrepreneur because of giving her the right tools, and also ensure that her environment is also fixed, not just the tools, the environment is fixed. She is completely transformed, and she started to think like an entrepreneur. She's thinking about scaling, she's thinking about future, which is unbelievable. Because that, like I mentioned earlier, right, women has that inherent power. Like when we all get married, specifically in India, and coming and living in a different country, nobody trained us how to come and live in a country, take care of our children, and how to take care of them in different stages of the life. We learn that, we have that inherent knowledge which is being given to us by the power above us. But give us the environment to utilize it in the right way. And I guess that's exactly and precisely what you're doing. So it's amazing to just listen to that. So wonderful. So now you touched upon your sponsors. So I want to understand about the collaboration and relationship building, right? It's not very easy at all, because even to convince your collaborators and your sponsors and your donors. So how do you cultivate and leverage relationships with business partners, strategic alliances, leaders across the public and private sectors to further the foundation's goal?
I think going back to the first question, Preeta, for me, it's all about I am my story and I show up with my story. And it is the story of the millions of women we represent. So is it a corporate boardroom? Is it the UN? Is it a small family foundation? I think it is what it is, right? And to be able to represent the people you serve with stories and with the impact that you create, I think is very meaningful. And 99.9% of the work we do is based on trust and relationships, right? People have to value and see your work. And I think the work speaks for itself in many ways. And so I think it's all about showing up with your story, and it's all about showing up with the stories of others to follow. And that's the trust building process and the relationship building process, and things move on. And the other aspect of this, which people, I believe sometimes deviate from, is it's okay if your story does not resonate with a particular person, right? But that does not mean it's an end of a relationship. It's an end of a new relationship that you can form by connecting them with a person to whom their stories would resonate with each other, right? And I think the more I've learned from my professional career is that no is not a bad answer. It's an answer. And once you receive no, if you continue to nurture that relationship, it's going to manifest again in many ways in your
In a
life.
different way, in a different way.
Differently. And I think being in a nonprofit and the social impact sector, I think that's been a very valuable lesson a mentor taught me, is like, no is not a bad answer. It's just an answer. That any relationship with a no, in fact, needs more nurturing because it's not about always receiving. It's also about giving.
Oh my God, that's a profound, profound, profound way to say that. And I'm actually going to steal it from you, because I'm going to ensure that I put that as part of my daily learnings. Because you're right. We as humans, we are not conditioned to take a no, because then we immediately start to come up with different scenarios in our mind. Why did they say no? And not doing an internal reflection to say, maybe at this point in time, that person is not at the space where they can receive what you are trying to convey. Uh, so you have to work with them, right? A relation is it takes time, it takes process, and you have to build that relationship. So to what you said, eventually, maybe in the future, it will manifest in a different way. Maybe this particular proposal, what you presented, may not be something they're interested in, but it can actually manifest in a different way, completely different proposal, which you might have not even thought through it. And that might have been the much better solution to what you had envisioned. So, but you got to be patient there, not immediately severe ties and say, oh, this person said no, and I'm just going to, throw my hands and walk away. But that's a very beautiful, lesson for everybody, not just in entrepreneurship, but I guess in day-to-day relationships also. It's a beautiful nugget that you shared today. Thank you. So I want to now speak about your product development and commercialization, right? So could you give us an insight into the foundation's approach to product development, particularly how you ensure that initiatives remain both impactful and commercially viable?
Got it. So I think at the foundation, I'm no longer doing hands-on product development, but it's more services as products, right? So it's not necessarily a physical product, but it's a service-based product. So when we talk to financial institutions, we are talking about designing loan products for women. When we talk about dismantling gender and power, it's about ensuring that the services are in a way that they're not negatively impacting the customer, which is the woman on the other side. In terms of viability, yes, we are a nonprofit and we are philanthropically funded. However, everything that Grameen does, like I said, replicability is a core part of our work. Anything that we create, we ensure that it can be replicated, and we create the tool sets for it. That's one way of sustainability. The other way, and again, I'd like to give example here to say I was in one of our program areas in Nachi Valley in Uganda. It's a refugee camp where we work in. And one of the aspects of our programming there was to bring a financial institution so that the work that we do will enable in access to capital, right? So we don't give the loan, but we bring a financial institution. So we were able to subsidize the setting up of a branch in that through the program time. And at the end of the program, I believe it was 4.5, 5 years, the financial institution said, we want this to be established as a formal branch because
Oh, wow.
we see that the systems that have been created by Grameen allow us to function as as a sustainable entity, as a financial sustainable entity. So the program ends, but the financial institution
Bank continues to, continue its operations.
Did we subsidize the cost of bringing the bank there? Yes. But the financial institution, it's not a bank, it's a microfinance institution, but they decided to offer their services long term. That's an example of sustainability embedded in the work that we do. So when we talk about systems transformation, yes, it looks very abstract, but it leads to commercially viable entities being able to provide services on a long term that not only benefits them, but also the clients that we are serving.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. I think that is the right way of partnership, right? It doesn't have to be strictly by the books saying that this is the cookie cutter recipes we have and how we're going to collaborate, but going completely out of the norm and trying something new. And that actually is a long-term success today, right? It's so amazing to hear that story. So now I want to ask about innovation, right? So innovation is crucial in the nonprofit sector, especially now since it's 25 years plus the Grameen Foundation is in existence. So can you share an example of an innovative approach the Grameen Foundation has adopted to create new revenue generating opportunities? Like you have to consistently come up with new ways in which you're supporting people who are part of the foundation. So is there anything innovative that you're trying to generate new income?
Our entire strategy is innovative. It's based on innovation. I think every single program, we have to innovate. We have to present ourselves in a way that makes us credible, that makes us show up. Again, from an example perspective, there are two programs within Grameen. One that still operates within Grameen, it's called Bankers Without Borders, right? It's primarily a way for us to take corporate volunteers and deploy them and match them with needs that are with social impact organizations globally. They don't necessarily need to be our programs. In fact, I would believe less than 5% of the volunteers work for Grameen programs. They are matched with different needs by various.
Wow. So like the CSR activities, for CSR
Like
activities.
that, yes. It
Okay.
doesn't need to be CSR primarily, but CSR could be an aspect of it. But any employee who wants to give time is able to match their profile and expertise with an organization's need. And it could be a 3-month program, it could be a 3-day intervention, it could be a year-long intervention, right? So we do that. And that's an innovative program within Grameen that's run and led. We also have another for-profit company that we own that started as a program within Grameen that has now been spun out. And it's primarily about using a platform for data collection for social enterprises at the last mile, even when they're offline, right? So how do you collect data at the last mile of a farmer, of an individual you're serving, and how do you collect that offline, and how do you ensure that you're able to process that data? That's called Taro Works. And again, it's a sustainable company that started as a program within Grameen. The technology was innovated and built on the Salesforce platform and now is spun off and runs as a for-profit company, right? So I would say that everything that we do is innovative, is about thinking about the sustainability, is about ensuring impact at the last mile. And so innovation, I would say, is one of the core aspects of how we function on an everyday basis.
Wow, so amazing. Especially you're talking about how you started, especially on the data analytics part, right? That is something which almost all the nonprofits require today. And if you're able to provide that as a service, and in turn also provide a revenue stream for Grameen, that is like the best of both worlds. So it's amazing. I'm actually going to go and search on the internet to find more about it because I'm really intrigued right now. So now I want to understand about your leadership philosophy. So your leadership style appears both objective and progressive. Can you describe your leadership philosophy and how it has evolved over the years?
I think for me, leadership has always been a very flat structure. It's never been about who's at the top, who's at the bottom. It's always about is everybody on the same page and is everybody wanting to go in the same direction, right? For lack of better words, I would say I've always been, you can either call it somebody who is always ahead of her times, which means that, a little bit on the leaning on the edge of crazy, or you can also call it transformational leadership, however you want to define it. But I think it's been to my advantage that I've always been a little ahead of the curve. And that works both positive and negative, because when you're ahead of the curve, it takes a lot of energy to rally people. But you also, when you get there, it seems very fulfilling and meaningful. And so I think for me, leadership is all about the team, and it's all about working with the team towards solving a mission, which for me, I've been very privileged and honored to have my personal vision as part of kind of the work throughout my career. And I feel very fortunate and privileged to be in that position.
Absolutely. You are blessed, because very seldom people get that opportunity to also fulfill their personal desires through their, day job. Very seldom it happens. But if you get that opportunity to blend both, and you're able to have that, purpose as also as part of your professional journey, is like incredibly awesome. So, and I love the way you said about ahead of the curve or transformational. See, I recall reading a quote once, is like, only the crazy ones who believe that they can actually do it are the change makers of this world. So if everybody thinks the same and goes with that status quo, then the change will never happen in this world, and we would never be here today, now having AI in front of us, which is completely redefining the way we all live and breathe today. So having the crazy ones with the crazy thoughts is extremely important for the world to move on. So I think you're actually, the top 1 percentile. So you should be very proud of
I would
that.
say I'm blessed to have a team, and my entire team, I would say, falls on the spectrum.
Awesome. Oh, wow. You attract the like-minded people, I guess.
I guess like-minded people attracted me in this
Yeah.
case. I
So
would say that it is definitely an honor to be working with a team who thinks that way as well.
beautiful. So I have the last question for you, Zubaida. So advice for aspiring leaders who especially want to work in a social entrepreneurship sector. So what advice would you give to aspiring leaders who want to make a difference in the global community development? What is your thought, and what are the advice you would give?
Sure. I think for me, a lot of youngsters come to me and say, well, how do I change the world? And I was like, you don't need to change the world, right? All you need to do is figure out what change you can make, and is making that change going to make you happy? And that's the first step, right? And as you keep finding happiness, do more of it. Is that going to be your full-time job? Is that going to be your volunteering? Is that going to be your side gig? All that doesn't matter, right? So I think the search for passion and meaning is small, right? Is very small. It's just for you to identify. Yes, do you aspire for it to be a global thing? But you need to get started. So I think that's, for me, what I always tell the youngsters that come to me is like, it's okay not to know what you're going to change in the world, but you are in control of what you can change today that will make you happy, and go ahead and do that and see if you can multiply that. That's kind of what I say always, and I'm going to say at this in today's conversation.
Wow, that's very profound, because you're right. People always think about, like, saving the earth. This is exactly, they'll say, like, what can I do to save? I'm like, Mother Earth does not needs to be saved. You have to save yourself, because she, over, many evolutions, she's proven that she's able to sustain irrespective of what happens, natural calamities or whatever. It's us humans, we've got to change our mindset and look into ways in which we've got to change within us in order to see that reflection around us. So change happens first from us, not around us, or what you're going to go and change the world. There's no such thing. And I love the way you said, not look at the end goal and saying, oh, 10 years from now, I need to get an award or something. No, that's not the intent behind it. Start doing it if you're really passionate about making a difference. And like you said, if you're having the courage, and if you're a risk taker, like you said, I knew early on that I was not meant for a desk job. That's a huge risk you took on yourself. Not everybody has the courage to say that, because that's not a stable income. You don't have a cushiony job. You don't have a monthly defined salary coming in. But if you're willing to take a risk because you really want to go after your heart and choose that as a career, that takes a lot of grit from yourself. And if you're willing to do it, the rest of the things will fall in its place. It's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation today. Thank you so much, Zubaida, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. It's truly inspiring to hear about the impactful work you're leading at the Grameen Foundation, and your dedication to addressing the social determinants of health. Your vision and leadership are paving the way for a more equitable and sustainable future. So, as final thoughts, would you like to say something to our listeners?
No, I think we really need a lot of voices. We need a lot of champions for us to support the work that we're doing. So please go visit grameenfoundation.org, learn about our work. If it inspires you and you want to champion our cause, please write to us. We really are looking for champions who can amplify this message of investing in the power of women. And we would appreciate learning from you if you want to be one and if you want to support our work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm sure there'll be more and more people who's reaching out to you. To our listeners, I hope you found this conversation as enlightening and motivating as I did. If you want to learn more about Grameen Foundation and how you can support their mission, be sure to visit their website and follow the initiatives. Once again, thank you, Zubaida, for joining us on Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. We look forward to seeing the continued success and positive impact of your work. Until next time, keep striving for a greener, more inclusive world. This is Preetha signing off. Thank you, Zubaida. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to the Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Together, we're exploring the innovations and stories that inspire us to think and act for a sustainable world. If you're inspired by today's conversation and want to be part of this journey toward a greener future, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode filled with groundbreaking ideas and actionable solutions. Let's continue to make a difference, one episode at a time. I'm Preetha, reminding you to make every day count for our planet. Until next time, keep moving the planet forward.